All right, good morning, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us today. We are here to have a conversation about Smarterhelp. I am joined by my lovely, esteemed colleagues, Dr. Jessica, Yvette Ellis, and Camille Terry. You've been hearing a lot of news, a lot of buzz around Smarterhelp. We are the spin-out organization, formerly known as the Learning and Development Department of ChargerHelp, and now we have become our very own entity, Smarterhelp. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what we are, what we do, and how we fit into the broader green economy. Before we get there, though, every organization has an origin story. I truly am honored to be able to share with you ours, and so that is why we have our history makers right here with us, Camille and Yvette. And so before we get started talking about Smarterhelp, we want to talk about how we got here, how this team came together. What was the thought process behind Smarterhelp? What was the idea and the vision? And so actually, I just got ahead of myself. Before we even do that, let's do introductions. And I have some questions that I'm going to ask our team to talk about before we get into Smarterhelp. I want to first introduce ourselves. I'll go first, talk about who we are, and then I want you to share your career journey. How did you get here? Working in the green economy is not, it's becoming more normal, but some years ago, it was a very new thing. And so it wasn't something that, folks were able to just go and get into. So how do we all get here? And so I'll go and I'll start us off, and then I'll popcorn. I don't know who it'll be. So Kiana Scott, currently, as of 5 weeks. Yeah, it's been a month. CEO, yay, praise the Lord. CEO of Smarterhelp. I formerly was senior vice president of learning and development with ChargerHelp, and before that, actually, I had spent 23 years in adult and secondary education. I was a teacher, a school leader, and then a school administrator for the last 11 years. And so I have worked and I've taught history and English, worked in high school students, adult schools, and so tech. And ChargerHelp specifically is a pilot and a pivot for me. Got here by way of had an HR certification. I was doing some work for Camille, was picking her brain around, what type of person she wanted for a position that she was hiring for. And we nerded out on brain-based learning and neuroplasticity and how the brain works. And the rest is pretty much history. We joined forces, and I came on the team about 2 years ago, and then have now transitioned to something else, as you all know. All right, I will popcorn to my near and dear friend Yvette Ellis.
I feel like we should have walk-up music or like a
Good morning, everyone. I am Yvette Ellis. I am co-founder at ChargerHelp and Chief People Officer. My entire career history has been workforce development. I spent the most amount of time, about 10 years, with the U.S. Department of Labor's Job Corps program, and I did everything from internships, externships, recruitment, job placement, outreach, and retention. And so those things, while doing them, I did not see the light, but proved to be very helpful when ChargerHelp entered the scene. So I am responsible here at ChargerHelp today for those same things, including safety as well. So it has been a privilege, and I can nerd out about workforce development, our workforce. I think these are very interesting times where we'll see a lot of our core beliefs about our workforce come up. And I think for people that work in workforce, human resources, we will value the importance of that part of any business so much more moving forward in our world today. So that's a little bit about me. I'll hand it over to Camille.
Oh, I wanted to go last. All right.
You can go last, Camille. I'll let you bring up the rear. All right. Dr. Jessica Hutchison. I'm formerly the VP of Learning and Development for ChargerHelp, and as of 5 weeks ago, I am the Chief Operating Officer for Smarterhelp. Super excited to be taking this journey alongside of Kiana, and really gracious and show so much gratitude for being able to work with Camille and Yvette. I got here on accident. I love the purposeful accident. I spent a long part of my career in nonprofit management and program development, and then moved into the educational sector and worked in education as an administrator for almost 20 plus years. And was released from that work, that good work, but was released from that doing grant writing, which is something else that I love to do, and supporting new businesses and new nonprofits. And by way of that, was supporting Yvette and Camille with ChargerHelp way back when, with just doing a little bit of grant writing with their dream and their vision. And when the opportunity presented itself to move on as a full-time team member, they obliged me that, and I came over to the ChargerHelp family. And so a little bit of part of me is like sad to go, but also super excited for where we're going and doing this fine, great work with Smarterhelp. And so that is how I got here, and glad to be here. I'm going to popcorn it over to Camille to bring up the rear.
Is it my turn? Is it my turn? Okay, the only reason why I wanted to go last, because like I just feel like it's just such a blessing to have brought so many folks into the fold, or folks that found the space. So for folks who don't know me, co-founder CEO of ChargerHelp, been in the space for about 10 years. So when I first got into the space, there was a lot of opportunity to include more people. And I was just so excited about climate tech. And I came by way to climate tech also kind of like by accident. I was a banker before. And then after that, my mom was sick. And so I came back home to Los Angeles. It was just literally looking for a job, because my mom was tired of me sitting at home just taking her to doctor's appointments, and she didn't want to just see my face no more. So I ended up finding this amazing company called EV Connect, and got introduced to the Charge and ecosystem. It was just so filled with like a sentiment of like, oh, more people need to know about this space, more people need to participate here. And so I don't know, I just feel overjoyed to sit here, and like Yvette was my my first ace, that I met her first. And then Dr. J, she used to write a lot of my speeches, so every time y'all heard a speech, Dr. J wrote that for me. And then nerding out about literally the brain and how people learn, and what is the future of thought, and how do you move that into an industry that is developing super quickly. So I'm just overjoyed, y'all. And I just came off a red eye, so maybe delusional and overjoyed, but very excited nonetheless. I'll pass it back over to Kiana.
Thank you. I want to appreciate you for after your red eye, still making time and energy to join us. And thank you all for sharing. And so, as I mentioned earlier, every organization has an origin story. And I also mentioned Smarterhelp is Camille's baby. It's her brainchild. And so, Camille, putting the conversation back in your hands, what led you to start Smarterhelp? Was there a specific moment that really sparked it for you? Were you like, hey, we really gotta do this learning and development thing on a whole nother level? So what led you to Smarterhelp?
And actually, I think with the Smarterhelp, I think I had already known Yvette. So I would say kind of like we both share in like this organization. So it's so funny, when we made the announcement, I found all these Google Docs from April 20th of 2020 of me writing out, ChargerHelp and Smarterhelp, and what do you do? Because at that time period, folks were just like, we see that, yes, you need to do workforce development. Yes, there needs to be some standardization in the workforce, but do you do that as a nonprofit while you focus on a technology product as ChargerHelp? But what I knew to be true back then, and I think what I continued to be revealed to me, was that like the crux of what we were building at ChargerHelp did require us to house a workforce and also help the industry standardize a workforce. And so I think back then it was really hard to split it apart. But coming forward, like after I met, Kiana, and I couldn't part ways with the Yvette, so I was like, man, you staying with me. But after I met Kiana and Dr. J, I was like, oh man, what a unique opportunity to really allow for this part of the organization to grow legs. So I said the first thing, to answer the question directly, it really came from this idea that in an emerging market, as technology is moving forward, you can't forget about the people piece of it, right? And it would, it would be very sad, that in sustainability, if we continue to operate on all fronts the same, right? Well, what a unique opportunity to now think about something differently. Like, how do you build a curriculum from the ground up? How do you enfold folks into, training and understanding and participating in order to drive adoption, in order to drive input, in order to maybe even drive more business ideas? And so that was the core. And I think, yeah, we held on to everybody for a while. And then I think about maybe 2 years ago, when I first started chatting with Kiana, I was just like, oh man, like it might be time. It might be time to kind of like let the split happen. But does that answer your question, Kiana?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think something you mentioned, one around an emerging industry with all kind of new and emerging technology, and what is it, what benefit would it be to still look at things the same way, and how you train people, and how you educate people, how you upskill people the same way when you have a very new and burgeoning what we call green economy on the way and on the rise. One of the things that I appreciate about ChargerHelp, and even we're taking into our transition into Smarterhelp, is reimagining and re-envisioning what it looks like to access current skill sets that people have from economies and industries that are not very adjacent, but they have a skill set and a knowledge base that we can use and we can tap into and build off of to make them more prepared for the opportunities that are here. And I think when I think about how ChargerHelp came about, that is exactly what you did. We have folks on oil and gas. We have folks who sold furniture, and they are the best at what they do here. But on the surface, you wouldn't have thought that they had something they could bring to the table. But when we tapped into actually what were the skills outside of the industry that they existed in, what were the skills they had, you all leveraged those and really built up confidence and skill for folks to traverse this space. And so hats off to you all. Just want to speak that. You may have already shared about this, and Yvette, feel free to chime in. Is there something you want to index on that you haven't already when you talk about how the team came together? Is there something else you wanna bring to light? How you got Dr. J, myself, the L&D team, period. We're very organic, especially our trainers, very organic. Is there anything else you wanna let the people know about how the team came together?
Let me say one thing that I'm gonna throw to Yvette because she's gonna laugh at this. Look, okay. So Yvette and I'm very, very young and
Oh my gosh.
very young. Is I had, these ideas, right? When the company started, I was like, look, everyone can get a job in charging. Everyone can learn today. Like, we just got to create the technology. We just got to look. You got to have aspirations, huh? And then I think what just partnering with Yvette, which I hope she'll touch on, was just like the reality of how does that actually play out and what is required. And the one story that I want to highlight really quickly, we were doing a workforce training program in Brooklyn, and we go to the space. And for myself, like I've been in even I'm from South Central, like I've been in all these special programs where people have taken care to how I learned, right? And so that's always how I thought about like learning. You got to have the right environment. You have to have people that are intentionally have the capital to care that you are getting information or not. So we go to this space, and it's like my first time going to one of the spaces, and I was just like, how are they doing that? I was like so appalled. And Yvette is like, you young, silly girl. This is just how things are done. But I mean, I think we ended up figuring it out, but I think it was just been such a beautiful brainchild of how just workforce development has come about at ChargerHelp. For me, having like these grand ideals of where we wanted to go to, but then you can't get there if it doesn't have like the legs. And so I just wanted to set my great co-founder up. We're kind of like that framing and see if you want to build on that, E.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great example of how different, our learning and development department at ChargerHelp kind of grew into what is now Smarterhelp and really the core values. And while I had been in workforce for a long time, I had actually become a little numb to how people learned. And I am thinking about budgets and what you have resources for. And, that's what it was about. And Camille was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about it was cold and how could people learn if it's below this temperature. And I'm like, girl, what? Have you seen the schools in Compton? Have you seen we do what we got to do, and I'm sure all over the country that is true. So we had a nice passionate conversation about it, but I will say this: for us to improve, for things to get better, you do need the new thinking inserted in. You do have, as a old guard, as a person that's well oiled in, no pun intended, that's well oiled in a particular area, you do have to allow for that wild idea that it's cold in here, or this wild idea that we may not be getting the best performance, or that people learn differently, or that like there is a statistic out there saying that a certain demographic of people are tactile and another demographic may learn this way, and we have not put all those facts on the table to see if we are delivering the best teaching that we can deliver, but also are we making it a equitable and fair playground for people to play in and then ultimately compete, right? Because it's going to come down, this is just training, but when it comes to the job, will they be able to compete with someone that learned in a different environment? And that's when we get into equity and the things that were very important. So while I might have been annoyed in that moment of her passion.
Wait, you were annoyed with me?
Oh, did I say that? Okay, y'all.
Just for a
Act
moment.
like you didn't hear that. I thought we had this conversation before. So while I may have been annoyed at her passion at the moment, she had great points that I could not take away from, that I had to examine, and I had to go back to our team and say like, hey, and even our partners, and say, hey, what can we do about this? And while that changed in that particular scenario, the question is, how do we get this to be how we work? And I think that is when we started thinking about, when we were creating master service agreements, and we were creating like how we do work at ChargerHelp. And when Kiana came in, she definitely made that more real. But yeah, that's when you start actually digging out, not just what you do, but how you do it. And that also played a role in our initial trainers. In our minds, like, who could train if you have not been in the field? Because we know how convoluted, we know how complex, we know how murky and gray it is. Like, I could not imagine getting a trainer that may have been a great trainer but has never been in the field. So we, as founders, you also get the opportunity to do things different. And so we chose to choose some of our best technicians to create the trainer role, because we can teach you how to train. We cannot teach you how to fit, you had to know certain things to be able then to deliver it to a class of people. So that is something we chose to do. A couple more things that we've done at ChargerHelp is that when we hired our initial technicians, we had them send in videos versus a resume. Those things I think were instrumental in getting the people that we got, because I think there's about 5 or 6 of our original technicians, well, actually more than that, that maybe would not have shown up on paper the way they showed up on a video. And they were not only qualified, but in some instances overqualified, but the paper just didn't tell that story. So hope that answers your question. And I'm not annoyed at Camille and her passion anymore. We were very young.
It was a moment. It was a moment, and we're grateful you all are a dynamic.
Very young in our co-founders.
I think what I can take away from what both of you all shared is it's a delicate balance between slowing down to speed up.
Yes.
Taking in, Camille talks about this a lot, how even our technicians are data sets in and of themselves. So, how do you draw conclusions from who they are and how they show up to also, get a company up and going, show proof of concept for us. So I'm really grateful on this side of Smarterhelp to be able to have be able to take your former technicians that are now our current trainers. So grateful, because they are awesome on our end. All right, last question before we move into the thick of it all, which is Smarterhelp. You've talked about the history. You both have talked about the origin, your idea, and your vision for Smarterhelp for L&D, but now Smarterhelp. As we move forward with Smarterhelp as its own entity, what do you all want to see accomplished? What impact would you like Smarterhelp to have? What imprint would you like us to leave?
You want me to go first, Camille? I'll take a stab at it. I mean, I think the first example of what I would love to see continue is like what happened here is like, this is also innovation, right? And really changing the face of what innovation looks like and what it looks like to really have impact. impact past just a good job, past just hiring, but like really supporting new businesses, new ideas, going to new places. Camille and I are huge on industry collaboration and what it looks like to share the pie. That is a real thing that we practice every day, and we practiced it well with here. We definitely could have kept Smarterhelp at ChargerHelp and hoarded all you all's beautiful and wonderful, brilliant talent. But I know the greater impact is from you all being Smarterhelp. I know that you all can help more people, that the autonomy and time, the flexibility, the room for you all to lead differently and not just follow. All of that was necessary for Smarterhelp or for L&D to grow to different heights and ultimately have more impact. And so I think what I would like to see is the continuation of impact, not just, and look, we have to hit bottom lines, we have to hit revenue, those things have to happen. But I think also, can you do that and treat people well? Can you do that and build out different career sets? Can you do that? And I think with all that Camille and I have been honored to and privileged to be a part of, the and is necessary for legacy, the and is necessary for impact. So while we have this, and we'll do what we need to do to keep the lights on, right? And to make revenue, we in no way want to be broke. We want to have a lot of money. We want people to pay us for wonderful services because we have really, really talented people doing this work, right? But impact, what more can we do? And that's when the thinking caps come on past our day-to-day work, and we can think further out. That's what I would love to see continue.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that I'm on the same breadth of impact, and what I'm excited to see is like how fast can we keep up with industry. We see every single day that innovation is introducing new problems, new ways to think about things, new ways to like solve things. And so what is the future of workforce, right? Like, how do you keep a human in the loop on essentially like what's happening out in whatever vertical that you go after, specifically when it comes to technology. So yeah, if our impact can keep up with the rate of technology, and I think that it can. But yeah.
All right. Thank you both. All right. So Camille always says there's a charge. Community has been built. Knowledge has been shared. History, you all are informed now. So now we're going to move into, we've got through the how and the why we're here. Now we're going to move into what we do. This is where our lovely Camille Terry gets to go and get some sleep because she's been on red eye. She has to go and do amazing, great things. So I want to thank you for joining. And now we're just going to get into a conversation with myself and Dr. J. I want to also thank Yvette Ellis in advance for helping to moderate this conversation. We're going to talk more about what exactly is Smarterhelp. What are the services that we offer? What do we do? And what is the impact to what Yvette just mentioned? What is the impact that we too envision making on as we as we prepare people and educate people and train people to transition into the green economy? And so I'm going to ask Mr. Marshawn Ellis to pull up our slide. And I'm going to move it over to you.
Okay. Well, I am happy to facilitate this conversation because this is such a long time coming, and I'm so excited. I keep looking at the participants. Y'all are hanging on there with us, and we appreciate you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I just checked to see, I see some folks we know. So shout out to the ChargerHelp supporters that have now moved over and they're supporting Smarterhelp. We really do appreciate you. And just to be clear, because I think this is a conversation I've heard some places, you can put it in share mode, Marshawn. Just to be clear, Camille and I don't work for Smarterhelp. This is two totally different companies. So I'm sure they'll get into that, but I'm just here visiting with my ChargerHelp gear on. I'm just here visiting. Okay. So let's get into it. I want to start with Dr. Jessica, who is the COO, and that is a very interesting position, Dr. Jessica, because
I'll be calling you.
Yeah, a lot of responsibility. But let's start off with what is Smarterhelp, because I think in theory people know. I think there's this little bubble around it. Let's pop the bubble. What is Smarterhelp? What do you all do? It took us a couple of years to be able to narrow this down to a great sentence, but you all have had a running start at this. So what is Smarterhelp, Dr. Jess?
Great. Yeah. So I will thank you. Thank you so much for that. And yes, I will be calling you on the COO questions. If you can get us to the next slide, we actually have a great sentence that I think encompasses exactly who we are. Oh, it's one more over maybe. In any case, Smarter Help is a learning and development company really based off preparing people for the careers of tomorrow. And so our sole focus is really honing in a very particular way with looking at what skills, talents, what technology, what research, all the things that people need to be included, inclusive, and prepared for the careers that are coming up. So we're looking 2 steps ahead, and that's really our goal. And to support all of the desires of infrastructure and reliability and all of those things. So we are not behind the 8 ball, but we have a workforce that's well suited and well prepared for what's upcoming. I'm sorry, I pushed us through too far on the slides, didn't I? It's probably slide 3, but that's okay. So here, I'll start off here, Kiana, if that's okay. Did you want me to do this part? So Kiana and I really can't function much without doing research. It's just the way our brains work. And so before we even started to kind of roll into this space about like, what is Smarter Help? What are we going to be doing with all the lessons we learned at ChargerHelp with the amazing training team that we have on this side? Where's the gap? Why is this important? And so we started in research. And what we found is kind of what we already knew. There exists a gap between clean energy and green careers and people understanding what they are, how to get them, how to be prepared for them, and where they go to get those career jobs and things like that. So we said, okay, well, what's happening? You kind of see here, and really, if we're just looking at the Gen Zers, more than everybody wants to know and is very concerned. We all should be. These are probably some of the most difficult, weird weather I have ever experienced in my little lifetime. I'm like, if we don't see that things are going on with our weather, with our greenhouse gases, we are all remiss in that. And so people are concerned about the environment. People are concerned about the climate. But then it's like, but what do I do about that? If I am concerned, I see something popping up here. If I am concerned and I want to be involved in the climate correction, how do I go about doing that? And there exists a gap in between that wanting and the desire and the knowledge and the skill it takes to be invested in the clean energy and climate correction. 61% said, hey, I can get a green job within the next 5 years, but less than 20% know the pathway. And so that's really what we're looking at is how do we start to bridge, hey, this is happening. We can all feel it literally. This is what you need to know, and this is how you get there. And so if you kind of get all of that together in a nice gumbo, that's really what Smarter Help is. It exists to build that bridge.
That's super helpful. And I wanted to start there because I know we have a section that we want to just talk briefly about as far as the green economy and how that all plays in. But I really just want us to set the tone of like what Smarter Help was, and I think people can better connect to my next question. So for those who might not be familiar, we're going to just take a quick break and we're going to talk about the green economy. So a quick question to Kiana. Jessica, whoever wants to answer, why is the green economy so important now? Because we're doing all this work, our companies are kind of built around the green economy, but why is it so important right now?
Absolutely love this question. A couple reasons, and I'll start out and go in. Depending on what you read, I'll say data can be data. But I'm an educator, former educator, so I'll sit in this space, but nationally, college matriculation rates are down. Cost of college is high, and folks are also starting to question the benefit of a college degree on the other side right now. With the introduction of AI, a lot of things are, there's a lot of more skepticism around the surety and the stability of the ROI of a college investment. And so understandably so, I get that there's a bit of a pause right now. There's also, depending on what study you read, Blue Green Alliance has 5 million jobs. I think Accenture has said about 7 to 9 million jobs, but by 2035, the green economy will produce between 5 to 9 million net new jobs into the space. That's in America. Globally, it should be about $17.5 million. Jobs. And so the other thing that's interesting to note about this, emerging space, if you will, is that 40% of those jobs, there's an estimation, will not require a college degree. And so also to add to that, the median wage range for those jobs is steady between $24 to $27 an hour. So for me, that spells opportunity. That spells folks being able, that shares, it says to me, there's jobs on the table, there's opportunity for folks to go and grow in a space. And when you go back to just this slide here, the access, the awareness, and the education around this burgeoning opportunity is oh so limited. I just on an anecdotal basis, I talk to young people. I've gone into classrooms and I say something about a green career. They're like, huh? I'll even also mention that I've talked to workforce investment boards, folks who will support these young people after they get trained in getting OJT, on the job training or internships. And some of the things, the careers that I mentioned that are right now taking off. I'm not talking about by 2035. I'm talking about right now. Energy efficiency is right now. Battery energy storage system jobs are right now. Cybersecurity and smarter green assets is right now. And they too don't know. And so for me, the urgency right there is for me what fuels us and what drives us to be a training provider and an education provider in this space. But green economy is a job that exists in renewable energy sources. So you have wind, solar, electrification. And a lot of those job pathways are able to be accessed through what I like to say stackable certifications. And that means that the way there is maybe between 3 to 6 weeks. I'm talking about the short ones. You can also go into 12 and 18 and 18 month. I'm sorry, 12 and 18 weeks, and there's also some further. We sit in the more abridged, more shorter time frame. But yes, the green economy, a career that sits in one of those renewable energy sources. Did I answer your question?
Yes, no, absolutely. So, look, we won't walk past the elephant in the room, but what are some of the barriers that exist now that really existed before now? But what are some of the barriers that exist now with how we talk about preparing people for the green economy? There's a lot of myths, a lot of ideas with the climate in our country right now that can be even more confusing to folks. So my question is, what are those challenges? Can we just name what those barriers are? Because those are things that you all are tackling every day.
Sure, I'll start, and then Dr. J, feel free to add if I missed something. One, I would say misinformation or absence of information. Um, there is so much founded research, reputable organizations that are putting out information, solid information about the opportunity that is here and that is growing, but without access to that information, and without really vetting your sources, we will just take in what we take in. And so to your point, the sentiment from our federal government may not be one that is in favor of things that are green, if you will. That may be the sentiment. But outside of that, private enterprise and industry has spoken, and we're still headed in that direction anyway, even more so. But you have to be able to read, taking your information, be very discriminatory, and reconcile that against your life experiences, and really stand on something that's founded and true. I think second, which is also what this data mentions, is just a lack of access. This study comes from Fast Company that LinkedIn published as well. But just lack of information, lack of access to where I can get training, get education, and get upskilled around these jobs. I see them, but where do I go? to get trained for them, to get prepared for them. And I think the one of the last things that I would mention is the lack of collaboration. This space is moving, it's new and it's fast. And when we talk about preparing, it's just like a school. You educate people, you have your guidance counselors, you have your college and career counselors, you have your teacher, you have your admin. All those folks work together to support literally a student moving through ninth to 12th grade or whatever you want to call it. When you get out here in this space, it's very isolated and very siloed. And so there is a lack of interconnectivity around supporting and pouring into people as they go and grow in this space. And that can be daunting for people and they can retreat. I think that they do. You add on to that the fact that this space is new, and new sometimes without the right information doesn't communicate longevity and stability when we talk about employment, right? Some folks want to know that I'm going to get here and I'm going to be here versus like this is here, it's new, will it be here tomorrow? And so I think that's something that we're also responsible for as we message, not just that we can train you and you can do it, but that this is the opportunity ahead of you. This is what you'll be going into, and this is the stability and the longevity that it offers. I think absent of that, folks are also they have more timidity and more hesitancy around getting in the space.
Agreed. I think we experienced that with ChargerHelp as well. You know, people would take the training when this was just L&D. I was like, I'm going to be an EVSE technician. I'm like, no, you have completed the foundational part. You know, this is an entire career pathway, and there are levels to this. And I do think the communication around that, I'll share very quickly. We won something with the workforce program in Massachusetts years ago before we had L&D. And I just thought the workforce development leaders would help us fill this class. They would know what it is. And it didn't work out that way. And when we got to what the real issue was, they didn't understand what they were recruiting people for. And so we had to say, time out. We need to teach the people that are getting the people. So, even, customers, potential customers need to understand sometimes more holistically what they're actually offering to their participants, our classes, our clients. And so it's not just education one dimensional. It's several different folks that need to understand. I've talked to CEOs that's like, hey, we wanna do this. We're doing it. What is it? They know that they need to do it, right? They know it's important. They can read the writing on the wall, but they may not understand it to the degree we understand it to. And that's what we're here to help them understand and move them there. But what we don't want people to do is not move on it and get stuck in that. I don't know. I've also seen that where because the leadership at a particular organization or company did not understand, they didn't move forward, and they really, really held their entire company or organization up as a whole. And so we encourage everyone that's watching, don't be that person, right? Don't be the weakest link in that way. Do the research and meet with this team to understand it better. Jessica, you went into these slides, but now that Kiana has talked to us about why the green economy is so important right now and what the challenges are with how we talk about it, is there any particular slide that you want to reiterate that may help us just like box it in perfect where smart?
Push forward one more again, Mr. Porter. And I do want to add on to another challenge that we face, because I think it goes alongside of collaboration. And you touched on it, which is an area that we're going to actually tackle in Smarterhelp, which is around that knowledge base of training, not only just the participants, because that's what everybody thinks about first, but that background, that back office, that CEO, that workforce development team. And what we have come to realize that is actually a really huge challenge that has a solve, it has a resolve. And so at Smarterhelp, we intend to actually tackle that as well. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But the challenge is really the standardization in the industry. And because the industry is so new, standards are everywhere. Everybody's got them, it's like a stick of gum. And so really working alongside of our partners in the industry, say like, hey, can we build a standard for this thing? And we've done very well with doing that with like EVSE, right? And so we have industry partners that have aligned with us, that have said, yes, this is the standard for this thing. We have to do that in various other spaces in this economy. And so standardization is one that I think is a huge I don't want to call it a problem, but it's something that we can start solving for if we come together collaboratively in this industry. So this will be the slide here that I say will encompass it all. So this is our mission. We actually do have a nice little sentence here, Yvette. So the mission of Smarterhelp is to empower individuals, organizations, communities with the knowledge and skills needed to drive climate correction solutions. We are about driving climate correction solutions, but we want to empower people with the knowledge and the skill that it takes to do such. And our approach is to do that. We have internally, I think Kiana will be speaking about it here in a bit, but we have pillars. We rely on our pillars with the way that we walk, we talk, we move as Smarterhelp. And so we are looking to empower people with education, with both tactile, theory, practice, but it's fun, it's engaging, it's collaborative, it's all these things that so we're not just a company setting out to do it. We're not boring. That's the easiest way. So we are doing that in a very innovative way that is really going to set us apart. And then we have experience. Both Kiana and I have education background. We've been doing this for a long time, but so is our team. We're talking about people who are practitioners in the field, some in this space, first ever in the country to do that. So we are bringing on all of our experience, all of our knowledge, and really all of our courage. We are bringing a whole lot of courage and saying, hey, what we have and what we don't have, we're going to learn how to do. And we are going to bring that to you all in some very packaged products and be able to deliver something that's concise, clear, and really communicates that we're about this work.
That's exciting stuff. Okay, do you want to share this one? Because
yeah, keep moving forward. I think
I look at the time. I want to make sure that the
oh yes, yeah, keep going.
Things. Okay, because you will probably.
So this is why people are here.
Yes,
it's like, what are you guys doing, right?
That's where I was going. I was going to ask you and Kiana, let's get to the heart of the matter. People want to see some things, and we want to make sure that we're able to share that. You know, when you go to a, what do you call it? The vacation spots where you got to listen to the whole presentation. And at the end, they tell you like, and for, no, I know that's not what we're going to do.
Timeshare.
I do want to make sure that the most important parts are shared, because we can talk all day about our experiences and our origin stories, but can you go into what services for green energy career development do you all offer?
Yes. So here's the meat and potatoes, and we'll keep it very succinct for you all. Smarterhelp is going to be offering 4 distinct products. I'll go over the first 2. Kiana, I'll bring up the rear with the last 2. The first one is really the one that everybody knows. It's the one that we're probably most founded for people call, and that's really off of our work that we've done at ChargerHelp. And that is now called E-Academy. And so we've coined E-Academy to encompass all of our training and certification programs. So if you're looking to us to come out and do a training on EVSE technicians or battery energy storage operations and maintenance, or a lot of other things that we're going to be doing, microgrid certification training, you will be under the E-Academy product. And so we are looking out, and we have probably about 18 distinct training programs now that are under E-Academy that people can look at our catalog and start to decide what's best for them. And those are readily accessible to workforce development partners, to school districts, to utility companies, communities, it's whoever. And so kind of looking to make an assessment, and we will work alongside of you to determine what's best for you, but that's our E-Academy product. The second one.
So these are written. So I have a lot of money. I come to Smarterhelp. I say, I got, pockets full of money for training.
Yeah.
I don't know what I want to train on. You would work with me through the E-Academy.
That's right. I work with you through E-Academy. We do a needs assessment to determine what your training needs are. We'll talk about how much your funding could support and what your training.
I got
yeah. Okay, then I roll out the red carpet for you, and I say, here's the menu, and I'll serve it. But really, I'm glad you bring that up, because in our E-Academy, we literally are serving everything to you on a plate. We really wanted to be the training provider that says, hey, you have a need. We're going to support you with a need. There's not much you need to do. You've agreed to this. It's pre-packed. We're moving in, we're coming in, we're training, we're supporting, and then we are leaving you with the best case experience we can for training.
So these are the folks like me that I will pay for all the services and convenience. I will give you all my money if you are going to deliver. Okay, got it. All right. Tell me the next one.
So the second one will be Energy Compass, and that is our custom curriculum building. And so we have a few clients that we're working with now, industry partners, who we are actually designing curriculum for. So I want for you to think of and we know this, in our industry, we have people who are super innovative, have great ideas. They are building fun, ingenuity, it's stuff. And now they need people who know how to use it and who know how to fix it, but they don't know how to build that curriculum that trains the people to do that, to work on their software, their equipment. And so we're like, hey, we do that. And so we're doing that now actively for some partners, and we're going to be taking on some new ones. But let's say you've designed something, you're in our space, you're in climate correction, you build something phenomenal. Now you need to bring on a team who knows how to support it. We will help design and build the curriculum for you, as well as train the team that you see fit to be trained under that curriculum. And that's Energy Compass. We're just trying to help you navigate the way so that you can have the best case and best scenario product for yourself.
And this might also be interesting with my HR hat on. This might be also interesting as like a baseline or foundational training for your onboarding, right? For your particular company and your particular product. Even though they may, we use our training now, not just for our technicians, but everybody that comes through here, because that is the base of what we do, need to understand that. So that might be another thing, and it might really help with communication, transparency, and alignment at different companies. So even if you don't have this big team that's incoming, your current team, to help them stay up to date with your technology and the services or products that you offer, Energy Compass, I think, will be a great custom idea for onboarding as well. Okay, Kiana, you gonna bring us in with the last two?
Sure. Be ready. That's one of my favorite. I'm excited about this, folks. Well, you may not know, but I love all things education, especially for our babies. And so K-12 is two things. It is activation. One of the things we talk about, folks need awareness before they even want transition into access. And so at a K-12 activation day, the thing that I could say it sits between two things is a science fair and a career day. And so young people would come together, experience a day where they can interact with, touch, it's that thing, tactile, they can hear, see, for auditory and visual. They'll have opportunity to have micro learning sessions with technology. That is in wind, solar, and electrification transportation. And so there's different vendors from different companies that are in this space, and they show up ready to support our young people and just make them aware, give them time to interact with and hear about careers in the space. The impact of the work that they're doing towards climate correction, and then also to share with them how they can get to where they are, or what other adjacent jobs and fields are connected in the renewable energy space. The second thing under K-12 activation, or K-12 rather, is our curriculum. And so most folks know L&D to have provided curriculum for workforce development organizations or community colleges like Pasadena City College or Baton Rouge Community College. And we're now transitioning into K-12. The thing that I mentioned earlier on the call was college matriculation is lower, I'm gonna say low, is lower than it has been. And so there's room and opportunities. We talk about the jobs that are coming up in the green economy for CTE, career and technical education space. And so there's there's a curriculum that we will be introducing to the CTE space so that students can learn. And we're gonna partner with an organization. We'll give that announcement later. We're partnering with another fabulous organization. But so that people can access and learn, our students, about renewable energies, be prepared through training and education in their schools, right in their schools, so that when they graduate, they have a baseline, more than a baseline knowledge. They will have had some experience. They will have learned through the curriculum. They will have had certifications. If they're too young, we will funnel them right into the certifications post graduation. And then there's opportunity to go and have some OJT on the other side of this. And so it's the day, awareness, and then it's curriculum, access. Energy Bridge is what we mentioned earlier, in terms of not just, as Dr. J mentioned, not just training the trainee or the young person, the adult for the job, but what does it mean to provide operational knowledge for the organization that is responsible for career development and job placement for the folks that we are training? Do they know the certifications and the skills and what we're now terming durable skills that are required for this green economy? Do they know what language to look for when they hunt for jobs or bring in jobs? Do they know what questions, when they're doing interview preparation, what questions they should ask their stakeholders? Their I won't say customers, but yes, the folks that they're training, folks that we're training, to prepare them for those interview questions that are coming up in this renewable energy and green space. And so we provide training for our workforce development, that job development team, our partners on the other side, to help them better stand up their trainees once we or any other organization that trains in green economy career pathways. So
That's super, super exciting, because that's exactly what I run into, is that the workforce development teams with the best intentions are not fully prepared and they need support. So and that's something that, at ChargerHelp we did not do. So you all have brought in, I mean, all four of these are new, but the Be Ready and the Energy Bridge are brand new. And I think it's going to be such a plus for the industry. I'm going to take a minute and tell our participants that's still on, we see this time happening, okay? And we are moving. So I'm going to encourage you to put any questions in the Q&A area. I already see one is there. But while they're putting questions in there, so we're going to take 2 minutes, Kiana and Jessica, while everyone is putting questions in. And then also you may want to look at the questions, because we're going to try to get some answered. But tell us about this coming soon, Dr. Jessica. Tell us what is.
So coming soon is really exciting for us, but we, through our grant writing efforts, have submitted a couple of submissions to actually build out a mobile training lab. Our goal, I know, super excited. And I have some good news, but I'm kind of a little hesitant to share it. But we are well on our way to having our first mobile training lab. Our goal here is to have a lab that we can now go to spaces and in communities and areas that might not have a lot of access to get to trainings now. And so we are looking to roll this out probably in early next year.
So I'm just going to interrupt you. The classroom comes to you.
The
so
classroom is coming to you.
Because to teach this, there's certain equipment and things that you need and we are really into, and you all have continued this on the impact part into how people learn. So this mobile lab will come to you. So this is talking to our rural areas. This is talking to, maybe even some inner city communities that may not have all the things. And this is also talking to people that just have the budget and want to bring it there. And they may not be making a long-term investment in building a lab out, but for you.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna hand it back over to you, because I know we have oh wait, the question. Oh yeah, we have
questions popping in.
Yeah, well, we answered it, but I want to also give Kiana a chance to not answer it out loud, but if it's anything you want to share with the group. But Jessica, finish with this slide.
Yeah, so it is coming. Goal will be to have one in every quadrant, every region in the U.S. eventually. Where we'll of course be starting on the west side of the region, and then we'll be expanding from there. But super exciting, everything, all the bells and whistles in there, AR, VR. It should be a very exciting and fun training space.
Okay. All right. So let's jump over to the questions while Jessica is looking at that second question. Kiana, do you want to tell us about the first question or anything the entire group needs to know?
Sure. I actually just answered. It was a person asking about long story short, whether or not we work with a schedule and just the specific needs of the trainees that folks have. So I'll give you an example. For our training is normally all day. Excuse me, 3 weeks if I use EVSE specifically. And so sometimes we train adults. A lot of times we train adults. And one of the things that we do is partner with organizations that can provide a monetary support for folks during that time, because that is them either suffering a revenue loss or we're taking away from time that they could have been searching for a job. And so there's a capital investment there that we require be there and be present for trainees as they go through. In some spaces, they've been like, hey, these population results, they have part-time work. So can we agree? Can we modify the training schedule? Can it be in the evening? Can it be in the morning? And so that was one of the training, that was one of the questions. Can we consider where folks are showing up, where they are, and how we access them, and
Yeah.
still
You all are very familiar with working with that.
Yes. Second
Yeah.
question was around utilities. On the ChargerHelp side, utilities was actually our biggest customer. We've done training for and with Georgia Power. We're doing some work now with PG&E. Yes, we definitely can. And I'll write you a separate answer. But yes, long story short, yes.
Yes. And that's Mr. Williams. So Mr. Williams, yes, we can. And utilities like have funding. So we can do that, and we can do that today. Yes, we can. We can do that now. Okay.
Grateful she was our moderator. She said,
You know, that was a great idea for a moderator. Well, so we have 4 minutes left. Hang on with us, everybody. 4 more minutes. Okay. So with the 4 more minutes left that we have, I'd love to just hand it back over to the team. We've talked about a lot of hours, hard to like get it all in, but I did want them to go through the products. I think that is most important, and they are open, I'm sure, to having additional meetings and like getting into you individually. But Jessica Arcana, that you want to share this screen because this is pretty impressive.
Yes, I mean, we have been blessed. God has been good. Allow us to be able to work with some great people in the space. We say they are our customers and our partners that drive our mission forward. Because in addition to them maybe call on us to quote unquote train, we are grateful enough. We're not grateful, but we're grateful to have been able to lock arms with them in a way that's beyond just the delivery of the service. And so we've been able to enter conversations. Dr. Jessica meets with these folks when we train every week to talk about like how the training is going, to index on specific people in the training. What does it mean to provide additional support? Where else can we lock arms, or other things that we need to consider? While we offer all of these services, we're also very aware of the fact that we too, in this growing space, are also growing. And so the needs as they evolve, as the technology changes, as services form and morph around what's happening in the industry, in the marketplace, we stay students. We stay learners, and our partners have been gracious enough to be able to allow us to operate as professionals, but also like, hey, what happened here? We need to get in here and fix that. That didn't go over so well. And so these are just a few of the people in the space. One of them I won't mention now, but a great announcement coming later. That's at our next webinar, will be happening in a month. But yeah, you see government, you see utility, you see education here, you see consulting firms, and there's more.
And Kiana, you're saying partners because me and Camille have these arguments all the time. You're saying partners, but these are paying customers. So I just
They
want
are
to be
paying
very
customers
clear.
for sure.
There's a couple of
think-
things.
Yeah.
We're not a nonprofit. This is a for-profit company, and these are paying customers. And while we're all doing impactful work, these are paying customers that have committed to the people that they serve and invested in that group of people, and have partnered with Smarterhelp, previously our L&D department to deliver that, because the impact is not just the warm and fuzzies, but it's actually the workforce, it's actually productivity, it's actually very knowledgeable workforce to be able to really propel these companies, these departments, these missions forward. Because for everyone here on this list, there's a different mission that has to move forward, and different deliverables that have to move forward. So I like to be very serious about that, because I think in workforce, I'm a stickler in workforce, we got a lot of fuzzy words, right? And it kind of fuzzes over like what's actually happening. Like impact, I feel like can be one. I feel like partnership is one. So, in some cases, I just want to be clear, these are customers that pay money, and this is a company that needs to grow and scale. And if you really support Smarterhelp, this company needs to grow. They're doing great work, but we need to move it. And that's the founder. That's the founder in me. That's like, I remember being here where it was a lot of warm and fuzzies, and you're missing that money. So I just want to make sure that we are saying to the people, we appreciate your support, but we also appreciate having very serious conversations about funding and real projects that can move forward. Before we close out in our last minute, where do you all see Smarter Help going? We know what it is, we know where it came from, but where do we see it going, and what do you need from the people on here, whether they can help you directly or support you by amplifying this information? What do you need from them, and where do you see yourselves going?
Absolutely. I think one of the first things that comes to mind for us and where Smarter Help is going is into education, into K-12 spaces, and of course, even community colleges, but definitely into secondary schools. We have to, if we're going to have a chance at meeting our decarbonization targets, depending on who you read, 2045 or 2050, we have no choice but to stand up, to reimagine and re-envision what a labor force and a talent pool looks like, and to stand up folks right now that are coming out of high school in support of our climate, much needed climate correction solutions. So education, the urgency behind there, for sure. The other thing coming alongside paying customers, workforce development agencies, I mentioned the setup for partnership, because a lot of times we come in and we are the training provider and that's it. So we train and we leave. It has been helpful to be able to enter into some data sharing MOUs with organizations, because we do want to know what's happening on the side, because we do know sometimes folks don't have the other knowledge they need to help people get these jobs. And so they're quote unquote just trained. And we don't want to be anywhere where we are contributing to disillusionment that was already present. And now it's even greater. And so definitely locking arms with workforce development organizations in a bigger and more impactful, more broader way. And then I think lastly, being a training provider, a curriculum developer for other folks that are pushing very effective, impactful climate correction solutions. Folks see very quickly that in order for their, I almost say idea, for their solution to scale, it needs a trained labor force to do so. And I think very quickly we're starting to see there will be more and more organizations like ChargerHelp that will stay lean and mean, if you will, that will be 50, 40 and under, driving solutions across the world, but need a trained labor force to do that. And going into a traditional school system like community college, it takes sometimes 2 years to get your curriculum in hand. It's going to be a challenge. And so we want to be, and we will be the training provider and the curriculum developer that helps that organization that says, I have an answer and it works. And this earth will be better because of it. Oh, but I need people to put their hands on it and work
So
on it.
I think you said it. If you all are interested in their services, want to learn more, is learn more at smarterhelp.com. If you want to talk to them because maybe you think it's something they have not quite thought about, shoot them an email. If there's spaces that you feel like this will be super helpful in, let them know. We do have a full 2026. People are filling up 26 with work to do. And so if this is something you're serious about and you think you have some more immediate needs, please, please, please reach out. Let's talk to the team. Let's see if there's alignment and let's get going. We appreciate your time today. We have so much more we can say. We appreciate your time, but we are excited. We are on the road. Smarter Help is up and going. There will be more informational webinars that's specifically about maybe just one product, just one thing where we'll dive in. But this is just our hello to everyone. And so with that, I bid you all goodbye. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful day.